Well, hello there guys, and welcome to my gameplay video on Terminal Conflict. For those of you that know me well, you know that I absolutely love Cold War era games, and this is one of the best Cold War era games that I've seen in a very long time. Now, we're going to be playing as the Soviet Union in this one. Basically, we're going to try and push Soviet influence to our side to the point where we can win the game, or we could also complete the space race or the nuclear race before the actual capitalist world does so. But we'll have to wait and see if that's even possible, guys. This is going to be a tough fight, without a doubt. I'm going to select the Soviets as our faction. Wish us the best of luck. Alright guys, so as you can see, the timeline begins in 1946. I absolutely love that sort of startup. Reminds me of an old school computer. Now, there's many different places where we could essentially begin our attempt at pushing Soviet influence, but I actually think Western Europe is going to be very, very important. And currently we could actually be sending in troops into Yugoslavia, I should say. So I think I'm actually going to focus on Western Europe here. You have to choose a focus before each of the turns, essentially, and this sort of determines kind of how you're going to approach the game, what territories you're going to want to go for first, and the influence early on. So right now, Vyacheslav Molotov is actually recommending for us to secure the Suez Canal in Egypt by denying imperialist Britain and USA access in the Arab world. We can agree with Molotov, and this is actually going to give us a little bit of influence over here, and we're going to go straight for, not necessarily directly to Egypt. We've got Israel over here, Palestine. Yeah, let's try to go for Egypt, but it's going to be hard to break this area. Nonetheless, I'll go for it. Okay, so we did gain a little bit of influence there, and eventually we can also potentially drop some rulers here in these nations. So let me take a look at state affairs as an example, guys. And I'm going to take a look here at... Actually, wait, let me first deploy some more forces. Okay. I located key researchers and their families and readied them for relocation to Soviet facilities, requesting immediate response. I'd love to grow the military, but I'd also like to get respect amongst the people. So let's do it. Jurisdiction is in the hands of the people here. And really try to push our influence. We'll also start sending more units into the Middle East, guys, to try and control this area entirely. Now, each turn we're going to have a different focus, of course. We don't always have to focus on the Middle East, but this seems to kind of have been the first start. So we can actually get some influence in the Levantine zone by remaining neutral, although we can place 2 influence if we go for Arab support. So we're going to go for, we're going to support the Arabs in the Middle East, and I think we'll actually unlock Egypt as a basing point. So guys, once it turns essentially orange, once we get over 3, this area is totally under Soviet control. Part of Egypt, the area of Egypt here is definitely under our control, and while that's great, it's not the be-all end-all. We need to control the entire region to really benefit from it. As you can see here on the lower left, there's a number of different things we need to take into account, and I'm not fully there with the game yet. I only understand, I would say, half of it. There's still a lot I need to understand. Despite a U.S. declared embargo, Israel secretly requests to buy weapons and ammunition. Okay, so once again, let's go for the influence boost, and this is specifically to get, more people here. We don't have a lot of people working in the Middle East, unfortunately, which makes it a lot harder for us to gain that influence. Go ahead, and now Iran or Persia, whatever you'd like to call it, is under our influence, guys. I'm also going to take a look at the focus tree pretty soon here. Now, when disarmament happens, I don't fully understand what happens, but basically you lose all of those troops in that region. They retire, and to place them back into the area, you actually have to place them manually, which, as you can imagine, costs a lot. There's another thing we have here, which is the Ascending Titan, and this will increase our base chance of success for infiltration missions, etc. I think it's overall pretty useful. We can't just leave our units retired. We've got to get them back on the field as soon as possible. And show that we've got some military potential here, or else we're not going to be taken very seriously by the capitalists. Alright, we're going to grant the East Germans some gradual political reforms, and this should give us some support in East Germany. An uneasy peace has settled in the Soviet-occupied territories of Germany. Interesting, guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pushes forward, but it looks like the German political machine has moved forward as we wanted it to. I'm also going to go ahead and focus management here, or actually go to staff affairs, and see if we can't unlock the first level of nuclear technology.
We have enabled our nuclear arsenal production.
Beautiful. It's just a start, boys, just a start. I'm also going to go ahead and recruit Joseph Broz Tito, the great Tito here in, of course, Western Europe. And hopefully, guys, in Yugoslavia, where Tito is, he can spread influence to other nearby countries. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually have him try and influence Italy here. So we're going to go for some influence in Italy, and maybe eventually we'll even bring in some more military units into this area. Don't forget, with all those units that had to basically retreat, or not retreat, retire in our Eastern European area, we can go ahead and drop them here in Western Europe. So I'm going to decide this later about Ben-Gurion and his government. One thing I know I have to do is drop some more tanks. And unfortunately, that's going to take away from sort of the rest of our moves. Ooh, Allied leaders' administration refuses land or air access. Okay, that's weird. So Tito is not allowing us to drop any forces here. Well, Tito up once again, trying to be a bit of an individualist. Okay, let's select him. Once again, I'm going to try to push the Italians towards us as quickly as possible. In the Italian Corsican region. Okay, guys, the founding of the GDR. This is, of course, talking about the German Democratic Republic, East Germany, essentially. So we can march side by side with them and gain support from the people. The Red Army alone shall demonstrate our might, although we lose influence in this area, or we are soldiers of the Soviet Union, and this would actually gain us support from the elites. I think I'm going to go ahead and march side by side with the people. Hopefully this will gain us some respect in the theater, and I'm also going to see if Tito will let us drop these bombs. It doesn't look like it. The Allied leader just isn't going to go for it. I'm also going to try and do a KGB false flag operation here in Italy, and it actually succeeded, guys. We can do a few more of those false flag operations. Eventually, we can get the Italians to fall under our total domination. Alright, so that was a failure with the false flag. And also, Spain is going to be very important to take here, guys. It's also got a drop-off point, essentially. But for now, we'll focus on Italy. And as long as Tito sticks around for another turn, I think we can probably push our cause over here in Italy and really move the revolution deeper into Europe, good guys. So here we go, once again. No, unfortunately not. Tito is not going to get another shot there. Now, the good news is we can bring in some tanks into Italy. We'll just assume these are sort of like the popular uprising, since the country is moving very much towards our direction. And in the 60s and mid-70s, there actually was a possibility in Italy for an Italian communist government rising up. Here we go, guys. So Joseph Broz Tito has fallen, but we have taken Italy under our control. And now, of course, we tally up for that actual time period how many points we're going to be getting. And I don't think it's going to be much for us initially. But I think next what I'm going to move to is South America, or actually Central America. That way we can have the Cuban Revolution pop off. Potentially we can take Honduras, Nicaragua, all of those Central American states, and knock the USA out of the running. 2-7 is actually not a bad score. You guys have to understand that the US does have a pretty basic advantage right off the bat. And, you know, if you're playing as the Soviet player, you definitely have more of a challenge. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and confirm, and I am going to focus on Central America, America Central. Let's see if we can already bring in Che or Fidel or one of these guys. We'll have to find out. So Central America.
Disarmament.
Alright, let's take a look. No, it looks like Fidel, we're going to have to wait a little bit. So maybe it wasn't the best idea to go into Central America yet, guys. Now, the Socialist Fraternity. I'm going to do a false flag attack over here. But I think that's probably not a good place for us to be right now. Let's go to our state affairs, guys. and see if we can't progress.
Our bomber commands can now
Beautiful.
deliver.
So there's a number of
fighters
different
and
ways for
carrier
us to actually
fleets can
gain
now
a
deliver
victory.
nuclear strikes.
It doesn't have to be the traditional way. You know, we can do something different. So this is a little weird, and people can argue about this. Juan Perón is supposed to be, I would definitely say, more to the capitalist side, but he really was a very in-between politician. They actually mentioned that here, sort of third way. So he's technically the Soviet side here. So we're actually going to recruit him in South America and see if we can't go ahead and turn the continent completely red. Of course, I think it is a little weird that Juan Perón would ever be pro-communist, but I guess in this particular scenario he is, so I'm okay with that. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to use his influence to turn the people red as quickly as possible. If we could get a stronghold in South America, that would be absolutely amazing. Now, this is bad news for us. Charles de Gaulle, as you know, one of the actual generals from the Free French Army during World War II, is now president in France. He's going to give a big boost to the capitalists, and we want to be careful with that. I'm really putting all my eggs in one basket here, and that's not necessarily something I recommend in this game, but again, I'm pretty new to this game myself. What does this do? Opponent loses one government if their government interest is below 5. I think with Juan Perón, guys, we can turn Argentina completely to our side. At that point, we should be able to drop some units here in Argentina. I'm going to go back to South America. Let's see how the points stack. But of course, we didn't do a lot there except try and boost our power here in South America. So I'm not expecting actually that many points. Yeah, you can see on that one, guys, we didn't do very well at all. Let's see if on our next run we can do a little better. I think with his last speech, Perón can unify the country. First, we need to focus.
Arms race.
Okay, there we go, guys. Now the question is, will we be able to drop any units? And it doesn't look like we can. Logistics does not support deployment. So maybe there's a way to actually get some logistics. Chance to uncover intelligence. Good operatives. I think it's going to be this one, so let's hope so. In the meantime, I think I'll jump over there to Central America. And I think now we can actually have Fidel Castro rise up. Be pretty great if that's the case. There we go, guys. Fidel is rising up. It's our time to definitely make a change here. And he can absolutely spread the revolution. He's got a fascinating number of points there, 7. Not all leaders have that many points, which means he sticks around for quite a while, just like the real Fidel did. So hopefully we can turn this sector red very soon, but we'll see what happens. Try and do a false flag operation in Cuba, and it actually worked, but we need to keep influencing with Fidel Castro to win the revolution here against the evil Batista. And again, I might be focusing too much on one area, guys. If you would do things differently, let me know. Apparently there was just an assassination thwarted. That very well may have been against Fidel. Another great thing about having Cuba, and one of the reasons this game really shows us that the West was so terrified of the Soviets having a base here, it's not just the fact that nuclear bombs could be put here and be very close to the U.S., but you'll see in this game, once you take over this area, you can then start bringing in, more troops, more ships, etc., and potentially you could spread the revolution to other parts of Central America. So, as you can see, Fidel had just fallen from power. Very unfortunate there, and it's too bad because I don't think we're going to be able to do much. Oh wait, we just got the revolutionary socialism boost, and that's going to allow us to go ahead and take Cuba. So that's beautiful. Even without Fidel, it did go socialist, and that is definitely going to be considered under our control. Let's jump over here to South America.
We have launched
We're
our
also going
first
to launch
object
our
into
first satellite
space.
into orbit, guys. This is
We have
another
launched
actual
our
way
first
to
animal
win.
into orbit.
And it also gives us some victory points. If we can research this before the enemy. In the Middle East, I'm going to go ahead and get Abdel Nasser, the president of Egypt, guys, to hopefully increase our lead here. And I think what I want to do is I want to go ahead and try and get Israel and Palestine completely on our side. Let's see if Nasser sticks around long enough to make that happen. I don't think he can do it. So we can actually bring in some tanks here, which I think is a good idea. Make more of a military presence in the Middle East. Now, in this game, you don't always get into a fight with the enemy. It can certainly happen, but it doesn't happen every time. And we'll just have to wait and see if it's going to happen here. I do want to get some more troops into Cuba in Central America. So let's see if we can't make that occur. Although, I think with the arms race, potentially there's a chance we can't do much here. I'll do another false flag over here. And it looks like our false flags unfortunately failed pretty hard. Could also go ahead and get Ho Chi Minh, guys, in South Asia, although we have to wait a little bit. But maybe next turn our focus can be South Asia. We haven't really looked over there at all. This is another area, China, which is interestingly enough, also under contention by the capitalists. So I guess that's representing sort of the Chinese Civil War. Alright, here we go, Ho Chi Minh. Come on, let's get Vietnam under our control. It can definitely be done. And there we go, guys. Ho Chi Minh has fallen from power, but under the actual fall, he's managed to get this area under control. And of course, we can start moving in some more troops, which I think is a good idea. So yeah, let's go for Southeast Asia now. And it looks like the points are getting closer and closer in score, guys. A lot could happen at this point, no pun intended. But each time I play as the Soviets and learn a little more about the game, the end is closer and closer. I'm hoping that this time maybe I can finally break the deadlock. Now, there's potentially a leader that we could go ahead and get in South Asia.
Disarmament.
But first, we actually get a chance to influence the area to our cause. And I think the first thing to do, turn these countries that are completely already friendly to us. Unfortunately, we might need to actually wait for Nehru. So there's a lot of other things we could do. This turn, of course, we could try to spread the revolution over here in Central America. But this is just one of the many ways to approach the game, of course, guys. You've probably gotten some idea of how it operates. This just happens to be the approach we took this Let's Play. There's so many different ways to do it. I would even love some modifications to this game that potentially added some new factions, maybe even move past the Cold War into modern times. I just think it would be really, really interesting, but so far, I absolutely love it. For a Cold War simulator, this is really great stuff, and it's still in beta, as most of you know. There's a lot of work still to be done, but this is definitely something I see myself playing in the future. And if you guys enjoy it and want to see more, I want to hear you say it, guys, so make sure to let me know in the comments down below, and hopefully we'll be revisiting this game in future Let's Plays. In this particular one, I think it would be pretty hard for us to get a victory, but anything is possible. I've already gotten 2 victories as the capitalists, but none as the communists yet. Thanks for watching, guys, once again. Make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and, of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next video. If you also could, please put down below who you'd like to see me play as next. Would you like me to see me restart as the Soviets or play as the Americans? It's up to you guys.